Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got PopKorn. What's
How's
up,
it
man?
going?
Going pretty
Thanks for
good.
having me back on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, people liked your story. They wanted to hear more.
Oh yeah.
Very
What we
rare person of your former stature comes on does interviews.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of secrecy around the motorcycle scene, but there's a lot of good stories about a lot of good men too. And I think we're coming into an era where if we keep the smoke screen in front of all this stuff we're trying to keep secret, we're going to let the pages be rewritten. And I think it's almost time to get the side of the story out there that you want the narrative to be. You know what I mean? The hush hush thing. I mean, I get it, but you know what I mean? It's letting the old ways slip away. There's standards that aren't held anymore. And there's, like the case of my brother OnIt, there's just a lot of men who are dedicating themselves to this situation with a false pretense or narrative. You know what I'm saying? Uh, the way that it's becoming a gang culture right before our eyes is just so disgusting, disrespectful. It's a disgrace to the reason why these clubs were forged in the first place. Everybody knows that the motorcycle scene is heavily orchestrated, I guess you would say, through the military. You know what I mean? So these are men that left their families to go to foreign lands to fight wars for freedoms on our soil, to come home and be, murdered for wearing clothing, a patch, riding in a certain area, things like that. That's not free. That's not America. That's not even bikers. That's gangbangers. You know what I mean? And
Do you think a lot of them, maybe some of them, are proud of the gangbanger type style that it's coming into?
so I don't think any of the older generation is proud of that whatsoever. I think what happened, everything evolves. Everything evolves, man. And if you want something to stay the same, you have to block evolution. And the only way to block evolution is to not accept it. There cannot be a defer from the initial program. You know what I mean? That's what rules are in place for. Nobody likes them, and everybody has to follow them. If everybody doesn't follow them, they fall apart, and whatever they're protecting falls apart with it. So when you start letting, a lot of the bylaws in a lot of clubs will one of the big statements will be no drug use. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a secret that a lot of people that are, riding motorcycles live a kind of a outside of the norm lifestyle, you know, uh, and then you get chapters that are consumed by drug addicts. And if you get 10 people in a chapter, 9 of them are doing dope, and one of them is yelling, "Hey, we should, put our money towards a construction business to further our chapter or whatever." How do you think that vote's going to go? So that chapter is never going to evolve into a better chapter. It's going to be always, smoked through the end of a pipe, snorted through the end of a straw, whatever you know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying, being infiltrated. All this tough guy, all this illegal, you know what I'm saying? If you wanted to break the law on an everyday norm, you should have joined a street gang. That's what they're known for. That's what they do. You're not allowed to steal cars on my block. We steal those cars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't sell dope on this corner. We sell dope on this corner. If you wanted to do
Yeah.
that shit, you should have paid your respects to the neighborhood you're from and joined up in that gang, not brought it into the motorcycle shit. I sent you some photos, and they're photos of, like the 80s and the 90s when bikers were still doing that thing. You know what I mean? They have bedrolls on the back of their bikes. There's wrenches in their hands. There's grease on their palms. You know what I'm saying? There's Look at that picture you just put up right there. When's the last time you seen bicycles laid down in the front yard and that grass is missing because those kids have ran that path through that front yard? You don't see that no more.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
we don't.
And I mean, that's what I'm saying about evolution. It's not just the motorcycle scene. Everything's, turning the tide. But you just got a lot of people that did a lot of sacrifice to get the motorcycle scene where it's at, and it's being extorted and handed over to a bunch of hoodlums and idiots, man. We're losing good men. There's murders happening. I talked to some of my buddies, that are still, doing the thing. And I asked them straight up, I said, and I'm talking to an old dude, I said, hey, do you remember a time when it was ever about the motorcycles? He said, nope.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
And it's a motorcycle club.
A time when it was ever just about bikes? And my fucking answer back from an old head was nope.
Wow.
Damn, huh? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
so
pretty
it's
sad.
all about, I'm not saying the show fucked it up for everybody, the Sons of Anarchy shit, but it's a good thing to refer to as an example. You know what I'm saying? You've even seen the dudes rolling around with the Sons of Anarchy cuts. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
It's pretty sad that that's the case. Tell me about your friend OnIt.
So he's more than a friend. He's an absolute brother of mine.
Is this one of them?
I have his name tattooed on my face. I named my son after him, his first, middle, and last name. So my son's name is Jordan Patrick Taylor Bisbee. You know what I mean? And my brother's name was Jordan Patrick Taylor. Let's see here. Where do I start at? I'll just give you a little rundown on him. He was born and raised in Wilmington, Delaware. He joined the U.S. military in 2011, where he was stationed at Joint Base Lewis McChord, where he had a 12-month combat deployment to Afghanistan. Later in his Army career, he had 2 additional deployments to Qatar and Korea. He left the military as a sergeant in 2019, and he was well known and respected by his troops for his caring nature, strong leadership, and his willingness to help anyone who needed it. He was fluent in 3 languages, English, Spanish, Samoan, and he was learning Arabic and Thai. He loved to travel and lived life on the edge. He was always down to clown, and he was a diehard Raiders fan. I'm sorry, man. I'm trying to get through it. He loved spending time with his family. He was the favorite uncle to his nieces and nephews. He was the most loyal person I've ever met. And this is coming from one of his closest brothers right here. He says, I remember many times he would help his soldiers keep their bills paid to protect their families. He loved riding motorcycles more than anything. This is not easy, bro. Hold on a second. Becoming a pagan was one of his proudest moments. Due to him growing up on the East Coast, he was a fierce friend and a brother. He really enjoyed giving back to the community. He volunteered a lot. He was a big proponent for charity. He had a big personality and a special skill where he would leave an impact on anyone he met with his ability to relate to people. He was a life of the party kind of guy. He was survived by his sister Monica, who he loved dearly, and his favorite places in the world was San Diego, California, and Puerto Vallarta, Mexico.
When did you first meet him?
I met him when he first came around the club, when he started prospecting. He was actually he's an out-of-towner, so he wasn't in my chapter. One of the biggest tragedies personally is the fact that he was actually transferring to my charter. You know what I mean? He was going to be in our chapter. The dude, man, when you had a conversation with him, you know, I measure people up. It's just a fault of mine. I'm sorry. It is what it is. But when I talk to you, I'm making little decisions in my head. Can I kick your ass? Are you honest? Do I like you? Are you a weirdo? Like I'm judging the fuck out of you. It's just by nature. You know what I'm saying? And you come across these guys that when you're doing that, you go, this dude is solid. You know what I'm saying? This dude is, he is, man, can you watch my wife and kids for me while I run? You know what I mean? Like, he's one of them good guys. You know what I mean? And that's what you got off of OnIt when you was talking to him. He had educated conversation. You know what I mean? He had respect about him. You know, he was very concerned and caring. You know, we had this big old party one time, and, you know, when you got that many people there and you had a party the night before and somebody makes it up in time to make breakfast for everybody, you know, people that don't understand motorcycle culture might feel a certain way about, you know, somebody doing that for that many people. But we consider that like the utmost show of respect and love. You know what I mean? You're concerned about everybody here. You made it up before everybody. I'm sure your hangover was just as bad. You know what I'm saying? But we all woke up to a plate cooked by my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. This is a personal story with him. So we go on this run, and he was assigned kind of like road captain. He's gonna keep the bikes in line. He's gonna make sure everybody's, you know, not got a flat tire, fucking, you know, their bike, you know, ain't smoking, popping, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? He's in charge. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If he says you ain't in the fucking lineup, or if he tells you to get to the back, is this what it is? You know what I'm saying? So we're
Yeah.
flying down the road, 20 bikes probably. One thing about this dude is he inspired me to do my job better. You know what I'm saying? He rolled up next to me and he's like, you know, pointing this dude out whose bike is sputtering and popping and smoking and I'm like, go ahead. He pulls up to him, says, get the fuck out the pack. You know what I'm saying? Pulls his out the pack. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna risk my brothers. You know what I mean? You want your bike in the pack, make sure that motherfucker is solid. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because this matters. You know what I mean? And other people would have just been like, yeah, did you see that bike smoking and oil dropping the whole way here? Yeah, it was crazy, huh? Not on it. You know what I mean? He did his job. You know what I'm saying? We get there, we have a good time, man. He borrowed my bike a couple times just to go back and forth across the bridge. I got a newer bike. He hopped on my bike a couple times, ran across the bridge, and at one point I'm like, where the is my bike? You know what I'm saying? Because I wanted to ride it too, you know. So I find him and we start hanging out and hey man, next time, you know what I mean? Drop $50 in the tank if you're going to keep her all day. I'm giving him a little bit of shit for keeping my bike a little long, you know. And we party and hang out. And I live maybe, you know, 40 miles away, maybe 35 miles away from the event. And I had some work the next day or something. There was some reason why my ass couldn't stay the night, but I stayed pretty late, you know what I mean? And I'm telling everybody, hey, you know, I'm going to roll home. And everybody, oh man, you should stay, brother. Da, da, da. I can't, you know what I mean? And there was 20, 30 pagans there. And OnIt is the only brother that said, you ain't going home alone. I said, man, stop, chill, dude. Look, I get it. I love you too, bro, but you don't need to ride me home. He said, I know I don't. And you're not going to tell me I won't. And he looks at another brother, says, saddle up. We're rolling PopKorn home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They saddle up to take me home. And I'm a blind dude. I can't see at night, you know. And I tell them that. I say, hey, look, man, you guys might want to ride in front of me so I can follow you because I can't see. And he says, nah, man, we're going to ride behind you and we're going to light the road up for you. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they did. They rode side by side behind me so I could see, you know what I mean? And then it started raining on the way home. So I'm now feeling like shit, you know what I mean? Because I got these guys out riding in the rain. And a very common thing for a biker to do is, you know, wave a brother off on a freeway exit or something. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
got it from here, you know. I waved him off. That did not get him to leave me. He followed me to my door. You know what I mean? It was almost like ridiculous, to some degree. But then when this kind of shit happens, you realize, why it's important. You know what I'm saying? He follows me to my door, and he gives me a hug, and they hop on their bikes and they roll back to the event. You know, that's another reason why we hug our brothers. You don't know when the last time, it might be the last time. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good story for me and OnIt. But another one is, whenever he was put into the position that he was in at one point, he did due diligence, even though everybody in his chapter had already had a background check. He reran it himself. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't going to take the word of anybody that it was done right, that it was done, nothing. He reran everybody's. So I did. You know what I mean? And then a certain circumstance arose where there was a member who had made some accusations, okay? And these accusations needed to be confirmed. These accusations could have started a war for real. You know what I mean? And I won't say who did it, and I won't say what they were, but they were hardcore accusations. And at the time, I was the essay for the chapter. And because of OnIt, showing me, to go to the end of the world with your research, you know what I mean? That's what I did, man. I sat in businesses with, playing back their camera footage. I bought them lunch. I stayed in their business for so long. And I had other members with me who wanted to do that lazy style. They wanted to watch the video on 5-minute intervals. No, we're not. We're not going to watch this on 5-minute intervals, because the weight of the that's going to hit the fan, we're watching this in slow motion. You know what I'm talking about? And I sat there in real time and I watched this until I made my findings. And the brothers that are watching this, hey, what's up? It's PopKorn. You remember this story? It was a crazy night. I love you, but the dude that made the accusations got sent down the road. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is, man. It's holding standard. It's making sure you're moving with dignity and righteousness, because all this push for power that they do, you know what I mean? They kind of let the important fall to the side. And the only way these clubs even lasted as long as they did is because how serious it was taken. It's hella fucked up, but I truly, honestly think that motorcycle clubs, at least as the way they were originally formed and based on, I think that is a dead thing. It's a dinosaur. You know what I mean? It don't exist. It just,
and the government has labeled them motorcycle gangs.
Which, listen, check this out. Every wannabe in the world loves that. You know how mother hard their little wannabe wieners are? Well, I must be a gangster. The government said I was. These clubs, they patch people in, hoping that you want to ride a motorcycle, and hoping that you want to learn some history, and hoping that you want to carry on traditions. That's what they're filling you up for. But the men that are joining them, their reasoning varies. And the problem is the ones that are trying to get in to be tough, trying to get in to look cool, trying to, you know what I mean? They need an identity. One thing about a motorcycle club is we're all fuck ups and idiots and shit, so we're going to accept another fuck up and an idiot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we also men. You know what I'm saying? And with that comes a little bit of respect. There's a time to fuck up and there's a time not to. When I first joined the motorcycle club, I'll be real with you, I thought it was going to be a little bit more Neanderthal. You know what I'm saying? And some of the older guys that I got around, they don't admire that. They admire, excuse me, please, thank you. You know what I mean? Do you need
Yeah.
some help? You know, you're talking about grown men, and now all these childish antics getting mixed in with what they're doing. It's disrespect. You know what I mean? There's, I keep on hearing things like, "You're not a brother till you've been in for 5 years," or "There's brothers and then there's members," and you know, I've even heard the uppers kind of like stick up for the new dudes a little bit, saying, "If I hear this, you know, separatism type, you know, it's going to be an issue. If you're a pagan or a member or whatever, you're a member." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no lesser member or whatever. But I get it. You know what I mean? You get these guys in there that are new members, and you know, they're like little hungry ass pit bulls that can't fight. You know what I'm saying?
Like you were saying a few days ago, you were saying everyone's not a UFC fighter or a
Yeah,
Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy.
right. If you're so tough, why are you hanging out with a bunch of broke bikers? You know what I mean? We wrenching on motorcycles and smoking doobies. If you're so tough, we'll go to your fight and support you. But I think what you're doing is trying to be a gang banger, and for whatever reason, your streets didn't want you, so you came to our clubhouse. You know I don't know.
And the Mongols were taking a lot of gang members at one point, and the lines started getting blurred, right?
One thing I won't do is speak on things that I don't know about, and I don't know anything about that. I do have friends that are with that faction. Just, you know what I mean? If it's in the media and you've seen it, report on it or whatever. But any dealings that I know about Mongols are that everyone I've ever come into contact were cool, and that's no. You know what I mean? I know about three of them by name, and they're just cool dudes. You know what I'm saying? And I'll leave it at that. I mean, there's so much to talk about surrounding any club, but like I said, I don't speak on that I don't know about.
How long was your friend OnIt in the club?